Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine, if you will, pulling a single crucial brick right out of the lower foundation of your house. You step back, and while the walls don't collapse today,
Right.
they probably won't collapse tomorrow either. But over a decade, the entire structure slowly warps. The window frames buckle and the roofline sags, all because that one tiny gap forced the rest of the house to, carry weight it was never designed to handle.
It really is a perfect analogy.
Today, we're looking at why losing a single tooth does the exact same thing to the intricate architecture of your skull.
It's a mechanism we are completely blind to until it breaks, honestly. I mean, you walk around your whole life operating this incredibly complex piece of biomechanical machinery, your jaw, without a second thought.
Yeah, you just take it for granted.
Exactly. Then, well, a piece goes missing, and you suddenly realize how precariously balanced the whole system really is.
That balance is exactly what we're tackling today. We've got our hands on some fascinating clinical notes from my gentle dentist, Arana Hills, which is a practice over in Australia.
Yeah, some really insightful stuff in there.
Right. These notes totally reframed how I think about replacing a missing tooth. Because they don't treat it like a cosmetic touch-up. They treat it like a collision between high-level biological engineering and long-term financial strategy.
Which is how it should be treated, honestly.
Definitely. We're talking about the difference between putting a temporary patch on a sinking foundation versus physically upgrading your own biology.
What's fascinating here is how quickly the reality of tooth loss shifts away from vanity. Like if you lose a tooth, your immediate panic-inducing thought is usually about the gap in your smile.
Oh, for sure. Especially if it's right in the front.
Exactly. But from a clinical perspective, the aesthetic gap is really the least of your worries. The notes highlight three immediate casualties. Confidence, sure, but more importantly, chewing ability and fundamental jaw function.
Yeah.
This isn't just a missing tile in a bathroom mosaic. You've just lost a primary load-bearing gear in your digestive system.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to make sure we are really visualizing the mechanics of what happens in the mouth. It's not just a blank space.
No, not at all.
If chewing and jaw function change, doesn't that imply the whole system has to, dramatically overcompensate? I mean, human jaws exert a massive amount of force.
So the force is staggering. Your masseter muscles, those are the thick muscles at the back of your jaw, they can exert hundreds of pounds of pressure when you bite down.
Hundreds. Wow.
Yeah, and your teeth are designed to distribute that extreme force perfectly evenly. So when a tooth is suddenly gone, that kinetic energy doesn't just evaporate, it gets violently displaced.
So it has to go somewhere.
Right. The teeth adjacent to the new gap are suddenly absorbing abnormal angular loads. Over time, because they are constantly being pushed into the empty space, they actually start to lean and drift.
Wait, so the neighboring teeth literally shift to try and close the gap?
They do. They try to find that missing structural support, and as they tilt, your entire bite alignment gets thrown off.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It kind of is. That alters your chewing patterns, which then leads to muscular imbalances in the jaw itself. That creates tension, pain, and accelerated wear on the remaining teeth. The whole finely tuned equilibrium is just shattered by one vacancy.
Knowing that, the historical reaction of dentistry makes total sense. They look at that gap, they look at the teeth falling inward, and they say, well, we have to build a literal bridge over this chasm.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Which brings us to the two wildly different timelines of how we fix this problem.
Right. We're looking at the traditional dental bridge versus the dental implant.
The traditional bridge is frequently described as a time-tested solution. And to be fair, it has been the standard of care for a very long time.
Yeah.
But time-tested shouldn't be confused with permanent. Even with impeccable oral hygiene and great care, a standard, well-placed bridge usually comes with a pretty strict expiration date, usually about 10 to 15 years.
See, here's where it gets really interesting to me. 10 to 15 years sounds like a decent run, but human beings are easily living into their 80s and 90s now.
Right.
A decade is just a fraction of the time you need your teeth. But beyond the timeline, the notes explicitly detail why a bridge fails. It isn't just normal wear and tear on the ceramic, right?
No, it's not.
It fails because of changes in the supporting teeth. So if a bridge is such a great fix, why is it actively compromising the teeth around it over a decade? Are we just cannibalizing the healthy neighbors to prop up the dead space?
That cannibalization is kind of the dark secret of the dental bridge. And it really raises an important question about how we define a fix in modern medicine.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, to install a traditional bridge, you can't just glue a fake tooth into the empty space. You have to anchor it to the healthy teeth on either side.
Right?
To do that, the dentist has to shave down the enamel of those perfectly healthy neighboring teeth. They literally grind them down into small pegs so they can place crowns over them to hold the false middle tooth in place.
Wait, really? You have to irreversibly damage two healthy teeth just to fix one missing one?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. That sounds like you're instantly turning a one-tooth problem into a three-tooth vulnerability.
You absolutely are.
So?
You're altering healthy biology to solve a localized problem. The foundation of that bridge relies entirely on the biological integrity of the teeth you just filed down.
Yikes.
And because they are now fused together by the bridge, those three teeth can't move independently when you chew. They're locked into this rigid structure, taking on massive stress.
So they're bearing the load of three teeth, but they can't move naturally.
Exactly. If one of those supporting teeth weakens, or if, say, decay gets under the crown, the entire bridge fails, you are essentially borrowing structural integrity at a very high interest rate.
So a bridge is less of a cure and more of a countdown clock.
It's a great way to put it.
That paints a completely different picture when we compare it to the heavy hitter these clinical notes champion, which is the dental implant. The survival rates for an implant frequently extend past 25 years, and for a huge portion of patients, it's just a permanent, lifetime fixture. We're jumping from a temporary 10-year patch to a permanent physiological upgrade.
And the reason for that massive leap in longevity isn't just because they use, a stronger dental cement or a harder ceramic for the tooth itself.
Right, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture of biomechanics, the implant lasts because it fundamentally changes how the replacement interacts with the human body.
Okay.
A bridge sits passively on top of the gums and leans heavily on the other teeth. But an implant goes underneath the surface and acts alone.
Right, the mechanics shift entirely. An implant acts as an artificial tooth root made of titanium. And this titanium somehow naturally fuses with your jawbone.
It does.
This fusion is the magic bullet because it prevents the bone loss that usually happens when you lose a tooth. It keeps the jaw strong and the facial structure totally intact. But I want to dig into the biological mechanics of this because fusing with the jawbone sounds like science fiction.
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah.
The clinical term for it is osseointegration, and it is arguably one of the most important medical discoveries of the last century.
Wow, really?
Yeah. When you lose a natural tooth, you aren't just losing the white enamel you see in the mirror. You're losing the root system buried deep in the bone.
Okay.
And that root has a crucial active job. Every single time you chew, the root sends kinetic signals down into the jawbone. It's basically a mechanical stress signal telling your body, hey, we're still actively using this bone.
Yeah.
Keep sending calcium, keep the blood vessels open, keep it dense.
It's like a workout for your skeleton. If you stop lifting weights, your muscles atrophy. If you stop chewing on a specific spot, the bone gets lazy.
Well, worse than lazy. The body is ruthlessly efficient.
Right.
When a tooth root is gone, the body stops receiving those signals. It looks at that section of the jaw and says, well, we aren't using this bone anymore, so let's harvest the calcium and use it elsewhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the bone literally starts to melt away. This process is called resorption. Within the first year of losing a tooth, you can lose up to 25% of the bone volume in that specific area.
25% in just 1 year. That's incredible.
It is. That's why people who are missing many teeth often have a sunken facial appearance. Their jawbone is physically dissolving.
So what does this all mean for the actual implant? It's like the difference between placing a heavy marble statue on top of dirt versus planting an oak tree.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
The bridge is the marble statue. It looks nice, it covers the empty patch of dirt, but it's just sitting there passively. When the rain comes and the wind blows, the dirt underneath the statue washes away because there's no root system holding the soil together.
Right, exactly.
Eventually, the foundation erodes and the statue tips over. But the implant with this titanium root is like planting a tree. The roots reach deep, they grip the soil, which in this case is your jawbone, and they actively hold the earth together.
The tree analogy is incredibly accurate because it highlights the active, living nature of the implant versus the dead weight of the bridge.
Right.
But the real miracle is the titanium itself. Titanium is highly biocompatible. When it's placed into the jaw, the body doesn't recognize it as a foreign invader to be rejected.
That's so cool.
Instead, the bone-building cells in your body, the osteoblasts, actually swarm the titanium. Titanium has a microscopic texture, And the living bone cells grow directly into those microscopic pores, locking it permanently into place.
That is wild. Your living bone cells are physically latching onto a piece of engineered metal. You're tricking the body into adopting cold hardware as native biological tissue.
Tricking it perfectly, yeah.
Hmm.
By mimicking the function of a natural root, the titanium transmits those chewing forces back into the bone, keeping the workout going, so to speak.
Yeah.
The body maintains the bone density, halting the structural collapse of the jaw and preserving the architectural integrity of your face.
Huh.
You're completely bypassing the fatal flaw of the bridge.
Because you aren't touching the neighboring teeth.
Exactly. And you are actively keeping the foundation alive.
Okay, knowing all that, it seems obvious. Everyone should just get an implant, right? But permanent, high-level biomechanical solutions in medicine never come cheap.
No, they don't.
We have to confront the massive elephant in the room that these clinical notes are very transparent about, which is the financial cost.
It is the unavoidable friction point in every single dental consultation. There is a significantly higher upfront cost for a dental implant compared to a traditional bridge.
Right.
The notes from the clinic don't shy away from this at all. But their core argument is that patients need a paradigm shift. We have to stop analyzing dental work purely as a transactional one-time expense and start evaluating it as a lifetime economic strategy.
I'm going to push back on this for a second, because lifetime economic strategy is a very clinical, sanitized phrase that gets thrown around. But sticker shock in the dental chair is a visceral, sweat-inducing reality.
Oh, absolutely. It's totally valid.
If you are sitting there under the bright lights looking at an estimate for a bridge that is substantially cheaper today versus an implant that might cost double or triple up front, it is incredibly difficult to see past the immediate hit to your checking account. Human nature pushes us toward the cheaper, immediate fix.
Of course it does. The immediate price tag is universally intimidating. But if you take a step back and apply the lifetime mathematical formula outlined in these clinical notes, the cheaper option today becomes a massive financial liability tomorrow.
How so?
Well, if you choose the bridge, you are not buying a lifetime solution. You are basically signing a 10 to 15-year subscription contract for a tooth. Let's do the math on a typical scenario.
So let's hear it.
Say you lose a tooth in your mid-40s. You get the bridge, you save some money up front. But by your late 50s, that bridge fails because the supporting teeth have weakened.
Right, because we established earlier that the bridge is cannibalizing the healthy teeth around it.
Exactly. So now, at 60, you need a second procedure, a second round of costs. And because the supporting teeth are now compromised, the new bridge might need to be larger or more complex.
Which means more expensive.
Yes. By your mid-70s, you are likely looking at a third replacement. And there is a very real possibility that after decades of bearing extra, unnatural loads, those supporting anchor teeth fail completely. Now, instead of one missing tooth, you have 3.
That is a terrifying domino effect.
Yeah.
You aren't just paying for the bridge 3 separate times over your life. You are paying escalating costs to fix the collateral damage the bridge actively caused along the way.
Precisely.
That completely flips the perspective on the price tag.
It completely inverts it. When you map out the compounding costs of a temporary fix, the multiple replacements, the inevitable root canals on the overworked anchor teeth, the bone grafts you might eventually need because the jaw eroded underneath the bridge,
Right.
the lifetime cost of a bridge rapidly eclipses the single higher upfront cost of an implant.
So when you look at the 25-plus year or even lifetime lifespan of the implant, the upfront cost isn't just a premium you pay for fancy titanium. You are essentially buying an insurance policy against future dental inflation. You lock in today's price, you do the surgery once, and you immunize that specific area of your mouth from decades of compounding financial and physical trauma.
That is the perfect way to articulate the economic strategy. The math strongly favors biological integration over the temporary architectural patch. But the clinical notes make a critical pivot here.
Okay, what's the pivot?
The return on this investment isn't just calculated on a spreadsheet. Dollars saved on future dental work are just the logical justification.
You're talking about the intangible return on investment, the experiential payoff. The notes call it unshakable confidence, which sounds like marketing copy. But when you really think about the psychology of tooth loss, it's profound.
It really is.
They talk about the freedom to eat your favorite foods without anxiety and the preservation of your overall oral health.
The psychological toll of a failing or even a temporary dental appliance is immense, and it's a burden people carry silently. worrying if a bridge will slip while you're biting into an apple in public, or feeling a subtle ache because food is trapped under the false tooth.
That sounds exhausting.
It creates this chronic, low-grade stress. It constantly reminds you of your physical vulnerability.
Imagine navigating 30 years of your life like that. Think of all the dinners, the uninhibited laughter and photographs, the deep conversations, the traveling. Imagine doing all of that without a single fleeting second thought about your teeth.
Exactly.
Knowing that this implant is fused to your bone, functioning identically to the tooth you were born with, that psychological peace of mind, the total absence of cognitive load, is the hidden value here. You aren't just buying a piece of titanium, you are buying back your natural, unencumbered experience of the world.
Beautifully said. By opting for a solution that the body actively embraces as its own, you remove that anxiety completely. You aren't just restoring a patient's smile for a family photo, you're restoring their baseline of comfort.
Yeah.
And having a clinical team that understands this, that walks you through the intimidating biology and the long-term math, is crucial for making an informed choice when you're sitting in that chair.
Which is exactly the philosophy these notes are built on. The team at My Gentle Dentist Arana Hills emphasizes that nobody should have to settle for a temporary patch when a permanent integration is possible. Right. For those listening who want to explore this deeper, or who might be actively weighing this exact financial and biological decision right now, their website is a fantastic resource. You can find them at mygentledentistaranahills.com.au.
Highly recommend checking it out.
They have comprehensive breakdowns on dental implants, or you can literally just call their clinic to book a no-pressure consultation.
It is a significant medical decision, and treating it with this level of analytical rigor is the only way to make a choice that serves you for the rest of your life.
So to pull all of these threads together, we started by looking at the violent kinetic reality of a missing tooth. How a single gap creates a dangerous domino effect of abnormal force across your entire jaw.
Yeah, that force distribution is key.
We explored why a traditional bridge, while familiar, essentially borrows time and structural integrity from your neighboring healthy teeth, practically guaranteeing future failure. Then we got into the microscopic marvel of titanium.
The osseointegration.
Right, how your living bone cells physically latch onto the metal, preventing the bone from melting away. And finally, we did the hard lifetime math, seeing how a 25-year lifespan totally destroys the argument for a cheaper, upfront fix, turning an intimidating expense into a permanent investment in your own peace of mind.
You know, this raises an important question, something for you to mull over after we wrap up today. Consider how our very definition of a cure in modern medicine is evolving right in front of us. Historically, we were content with simply covering up a problem. We built a literal bridge over a gap, hiding the cosmetic issue, but leaving the underlying bone to slowly rot away in the dark. Now, we have transitioned into utilizing materials that the human body doesn't just tolerate, but aggressively embraces and integrates as its own living architecture. It really makes you wonder, what other failing parts of the human machine will we soon be able to seamlessly and permanently upgrade using this exact kind of biocompatible engineering?
It changes the entire paradigm. We aren't just building makeshift bridges over our biological gaps anymore. We are learning how to become the engineers of our own biology. We are learning how to hack the invisible machinery that keeps us whole. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning the mechanics of the world around you, and we will catch you next